understand and give their insight on tonight's topic, which is maintaining a relationship with God. Maintaining a relationship with God. In today's society, there's so many distractions that sometimes we lose, and we lose in touch with Christ. And so now we find ourselves in an on and off relationship with Christ. Look, this show is about to be good. Sit back and relax and enjoy the show. We'll be right back. Life is like a roller coaster. Some days are up and some days are down. Some days you're happy and some days you're sad, but you really don't know why. Some days you eat much. Well, some days you don't eat much at all, and some days you don't know why you can't stop eating. Some days you're nice to people, but some days, I don't know, you're just so mean. Like, you're not talking to anyone. You're just annoyed by everyone. I say hi, you say bye. That's life. That's just how we are. Most of the time, we are inconsistent. We are inconsistent in our jobs, where sometimes we show up early, and most of the time we show up late and then lie about it and say it was traffic. We're inconsistent in our relationships. You used to call often, now you don't. He used to buy you flowers. He used to open the door for you. He used to clean his house before you got there. Now he doesn't do that anymore. She used to cook for you when she was trying to get you, but now that she has you, she doesn't cook often anymore. We're just so inconsistent. We're inconsistent in our jobs, our relationships, and even our spiritual life. Some days you pray, some days you don't. Some days you pray a lot, and some days you pray a little. Some days you want to pray, but you didn't hear your alarm, and now you're running late. Our spiritual life is up and down, and then up again, and then down again. Just like in our relationship with a person, when you start something good and then stop doing that thing later on in the relationship, like praying with each other, or doing the little things like complimenting, calling her beautiful, or calling him handsome. When you stop doing the little things, because the little things do matter, your partner may no longer want to be with you. So they eventually leave you. In your next relationship, you continue your inconsistent behavior, which ultimately causes you to be in a relationship, then out of relationship, then in again and out again. Because there is one thing you are consistent at, which is your inconsistency. You now have a label. Your label is that man or that woman who can't maintain a relationship. Sadly, many of you are just like that in your relationship with God. Your actions are inconsistent. You pray some days and some days you don't. Some days you spend time reading the Bible and doing a devotional, and some days you do none of that. You seem to only communicate with God whenever you need him, and that's why you now have a label. That man or woman, girl or boy, that can't maintain a relationship with God. If we are being real Christians today or tonight, we know that it is not easy to maintain a relationship with God. I mean, after all, we do live in this thing called life, and if you're not familiar with life, let me enlighten you. Life can be messed up sometimes. Life can play games and tricks on you. It doesn't listen to you. It's not fair sometimes. Life sometimes doesn't want to cooperate. Like, you say you want to wake up at 6 in the morning to pray and spend time with God and then get ready for your 8 o'clock class. And then, so the night before, you set your alarm for 6 a.m. Tomorrow is going to be a great day, so you thought. It's now 6 a.m., your alarm rings, but you don't hear it. It's like all of a sudden your ears made a corporate decision to stop working. You end up hearing your alarm at 7:45, leaving you 15 minutes to get ready and rush to class. Life can be funny sometimes. Like, you really want to do good and to do better and to be consistent with your prayer life, but life just keeps messing you up. We all know that if you aren't consistent with your communication with God, we can't maintain a relationship with Him. Some of you can testify that it's hard to remain consistent with your prayer life because there are just too many distractions. In the morning, you wake up and you really want to pray, but you can't help but notice the notifications on your phone. You tell yourself, after I check this one notification, I will pray. We all know that it doesn't work that way. One notification turns into 7. You respond to a text, and then that person quickly replies back with another, and now you're having a full-blown conversation. And then somehow you end up on YouTube watching the most random videos like how to prepare for the next zombie apocalypse. Or even better, I saw this the other day, how to put a wig on a dog in 2020. Before you know it, you've watched 10 videos and now it's time for work. You've gotten so distracted that it took up all the time you had to pray. So many things play a role in us struggling to maintain a relationship with God. This poses some questions. Does it have to be this way all the time? Will I ever get to the point where I'm consistent in my prayer life? In this busy world, can one in fact maintain a relationship with God? To give us their insight on this topic, joining us tonight will be the Louis sisters. Please help me welcome Liz and Josie Louis. Liz, Josie, thank you again for coming on the show and sharing with us your insight on this topic. Now, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Good evening and happy Sabbath. My name is Liz Louis. I am 23 years old, and I recently graduated from Florida Memorial University with a radiochemistry degree. Currently, I am pursuing a master's degree in biomedical sciences, and I aspire to be a medical doctor.
Wow. Wow.
Hi, everybody. My name is Josie Louis, and I am 20 years old. I am a senior attending the prestigious University of South Florida, go Bulls. I am pursuing a double major currently, in history and criminology, and my future aspiration is to become an attorney.
Wow. You have a doctor and an attorney. Wow. Beautiful. Now, Liz, tell the people, is there something, well, you both can answer this, is there something you both like to do together?
Well, so not so much activity-wise, but we like to sit there and chit-chat with each other, joke at each other, and entertain us. Like, just simply watching a movie together is fine for us.
Wow. How about you, Josie?
Same, yeah. I think it's more about just being around each other and our we can be doing our own things, but because we're next to each other, it just kind of seemed like a vibe, and it really isn't like something that we have to be rushing or doing anything else in that manner.
Well, the best thing to have in a friendship or a relationship is the vibe. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you don't know what it
Definitely.
is. It's just a vibe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So now, what is one thing you like about each other?
Okay, I'll go first. With Josie, there's a lot of things that I dislike. There's a lot of things that I like. You know, no shade here. But I know with Josie, my sister, she always has my back no matter what. Whether I'm wrong, whether I'm right, she will go inside the house. We'll handle that. But in front of everyone, you know, she has my back. I know that for a fact.
I guess it's my turn. My wonderful, wonderful older sister. One thing that I can say about my sister, despite all the difficult times she puts me through. Growing up, she was the one person that, like, I guess you can say, like, she was the person who always had my back, yes. In any situation, if they knew my sister was present, they wouldn't mess with me. That was definitely the case.
Period.
Also, I think she's someone that inspires me because of her aspirations, her career goals, how hardworking she is. She still prevails despite all the situations that seem to be like against her. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't get a big head, please. Thank you.
Aw, okay.
Can you stop? Thank you.
All right, so our topic tonight is maintaining a relationship with God. So our first question is, why do you think, or what do you think makes it hard for most people to maintain a relationship with God?
For me, it's time and pre-pressure. As Adventists, you don't see, if you don't have friends around us that are Adventists, you kind of get mixed into the mix of, like, not operating the same, like you're on your own. Like there's no way around it. Like you don't see a lot of people around that are Adventists outside of your church friends.
Right.
In the community, our day-to-day life. So it's hard that way, and also finding the time to fit God in. So I think that's what's hard for us.
So peer pressure. So when there's not a lot of people around you, like trying to get to know God, you don't really find the reason to do it yourself.
It's not so much reason. It's more so motivation.
Motivation. Okay.
It's having a motivation within you to open a Bible, to do your lesson,
Right.
to do a devotional, just to have that special time, that one-on-one time with God.
Right.
That's the problem.
Wow. That's good. So Josie, what do you think makes it hard for most people to maintain a relationship with God?
I'm talking from someone who is, because I attend school in Tampa, so I'm alone most of the time. Not alone most of the time, but like, I don't have my parents' constant, like, encouragement
Right.
to read the Bible and pray. So it's really just an internal battle with myself and with God to think of God and like to pursue relationship with Christ in a sense. Something for me that I realize is often a problem is a distraction. I often get distracted, or I allow myself to get distracted. It's very easy for the devil to interfere with my plans to get closer to God, and that seems to be a constant problem, especially where I'm at in Tampa.
Wow. So you're distracted and you're alone, which causes you to not maintain, you personally. Wow. So you kind of touched up on the second question, which is on a more personal level. What are some of the things that make you personally, like, just be real with them, what makes you personally, like, makes it so hard for you to maintain a relationship? Unless you have a perfect relationship.
I don't have a perfect relationship with God. I'm striving to get it to be perfect and be 100% with God. It's more so, like I said, it's more, me personally, it's motivation. It's not that I don't have the resources, because best believe I have a Bible right by my dresser, right by my neck. When I wake up, I look on the side of my dresser, the Bible is there. My lesson book is there. But am I motivated to open it? The devil is a lie. That's all I can say. That's my problem. Just finding motivation to open the Bible and to, build a spiritual relationship with God for me.
It's funny how when we're not doing anything, we still don't read the Bible. Like early in the morning, like I said in the introduction, there's no distractions. The Bible's there. You're looking at the Bible. The Bible's looking back at you, but you just don't have that motivation. That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. How about you? Give me something. We spoke about it, but give us again something personal that makes it hard for you.
Um, well, like in school in Tampa per se.
Right.
I think it's just a short burst of energy, I guess you can say, that encourages me to like, yeah, I need to settle down and just start focusing on God. And that happens a lot, especially when I'm a student at predominantly like, yes, everybody's a Christian, but not everybody's the type of Christian that you need to be, and you can't technically surround yourself with people who are advertly perfect Christians, because we don't know who is perfect in that sense. So with me, it's always been a constant battle, like a struggle actually, where I say, hey, I'm gonna start like doing my scripture readings and start doing my lesson, and I would consistently start, and then just kind of like I always find something else to do, like, oh, homework takes priority. Oh, I have a meeting I have to attend because I'm constantly busy, or I have to go to work. And there's always something that seems to be more important than what I need to be doing at the moment. And especially sleep. That's a very important thing. I need my sleep because I work a lot. So that even sleep seems to overshadow God and his presence in my life sometimes.
Wow, that's real. That's real. Um, Now, you're telling me, Josie, that you'll have these short bursts, right, where you're consistent. That's the next question. So think of a time where you had one of those bursts, like maybe a 5-day streak. 5 days you went straight. Every day you woke up, you prayed to God. Like, what did you do, or what changed that helped you to get on that streak? Because I know when I go on a streak, I'm hyped. I'm super happy. And then you'll get to day 11 and then 12 and you just stop. So what helped you to get on that streak?
I think it's just personal issues that I had. How I say this? So I set personal goals for myself. I try to find daily attainable goals for myself, or goals that I set for myself to do in the future. And there was times, especially because I'm by myself in school, I do struggle with, I do struggle a lot understanding myself. So what I do to actually understand, like I realize that sometimes like it gets really bad. I'm like, I need to get closer to God. Like this is something that's consistently in my head, especially if it gets really bad. And so for my streak, the time that I recently had it was, I was struggling really hard to find peace in my life. It felt like every time I turned, every step I took, it was always something either mentally or emotionally blocking me, and I didn't know what it was, and it was really bad. It was really bad for myself, and I had to speak to some of my friends. I do visit a therapist up in school, so I had to speak to my therapist, and I was at a point where I needed to first establish peace in my life that just wasn't there. And me and my friends, I kind of wrote my friends in it, and I kind of started doing the Bible app on the phone. I think it's called Finding Peace, and it's like in 10 days. So I started to do that, and when I see, like, if I write my response, my friends see the response, and then she's compelled to write, to like see something and write in response, and then it's like I see it, I'm compelled to do the same, and it's kind of back and forth. And it was also an opportunity for me to start journaling, something I never really did. So I would read, reflect on whatever I read, and then journal about something that I want for my personal self, so that I can have a personal growth that was just kind of like non-existent before.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, Liz, think of a time you went on a 5+ day streak. Talking about you wake up every day, you pray, 5 days straight or more.
Right. For me, it's like I said, it's always been motivation. It's not like I don't have the resources. It's always been motivation. So if I would go to a church and I would listen to a message, and I would go through a church service and like feel spiritually like I had to get my life together. It was time for me to get my life together. That's when I would actually ritually just open the Bible and do my lesson book for like a week, a whole week, and continue on until like, life gets in the middle of things and, I fall back. But once I have that motivation, once I have that sermon, listen to a good sermon that like, hits, like, so some sermons don't just, speak to me, but there's some sermons that do. So once it speaks to me and then I'm compelled to, get my life in order, that's what motivates me to like, keep a relationship with God.
Right. Okay. So now talk to me. This is off script a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about, of course, your motivation is, like a sermon.
Right.
Is there other things that, like for your sister, when she was struggling to understand certain things about herself, trying to find that peace, that wasn't necessarily a sermon, but is there something else that sometimes motivates you to like try to seek God?
How I said, also building a spiritual relationship with God. I go back to like, God loved me so much that he came and, he died on the cross for us. So I feel as though in order for me to build a spiritual relationship with God, I got to be 50-50 with him. So that's something that's another thing that really, set me off. Like, okay, so if he's giving me 50, I need to give him 50. If I say I love him, and if I say, I really want a spiritual relationship with God, I have to bring forth something. Right. I can't ask him to do this, to do that, to be there in my life, to bless me, to, forgive my sins, and, I'm not looking or I'm not trying to build a relationship with God. It doesn't work that way.
Wow.
Also, off the top of my head, another thing I was thinking of was when I would have other people come and like really, I would have to defend my spiritual faith with someone that's maybe an atheist or that has a different viewpoint. That would motivate me. Like, okay, so I'm sitting here saying I'm an Adventist, I'm a Christian, and then someone would come and like really come at me, and I have no response for them. So I would have to like, that motivates me. That's another thing that motivates me to like, get my act together, like really go searching for the answers, really know God. Because if you know God, then if somebody comes at you, you know how to defend the person.
I like that.
Right.
Want to add something to some of your motivations?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think another thing that mostly motivates me, like my sister, like, yeah, sermons are important, but something that really brings the spirit of God within me mostly is praise and worship. I'm an avid believer that the words that are words that are in songs, especially if it's like connects with you, can bring like the spirit like within you. And so especially for me, like if I'm in a point where I seem to be lacking, or I feel like, because I know when I was younger, I would have that constant fear of like if the Holy Spirit would leave me, because it was a time period we had devotion. Ralph knows the day of the devotion, and he kind of had a sermon where he kind of first brought something that I never knew of the Spirit actually could leave you, and that freaked me out. And even to this day, sometimes where like I feel like there's something missing, that like the fear starts to increase, and that automatically it's like another component of like you need to start getting closer to God, because you don't want that spirit to leave you. And so if I'm in that position where I feel like I'm lacking God in my life, I would try to play some songs that I know that's going to immediately connect me, and especially when I get to like certain songs that I can truly connect to, it just makes me like really emotional and just start to feel his spirit wherever I'm at. So yeah.
So for you, wow, music. See, I play piano, and when I play and I'm playing to a worship song, that really ministers to me. And now, your motivation is music. Yours is like a sermon. Now, would you consider that a good tip to people? Like, even if you don't, of course, we're home because of this quarantine thing, but could a person possibly go on YouTube, listen to a sermon, and maybe that'll help them to motivate them some?
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. You could go on YouTube. My favorite pastor is Pastor Greg. Um, I listen to a lot of like you just look and listen to different sermons. If that's your niche, if praise and worship is what you like, look Google or YouTube. Go on YouTube and put in your favorite artist, whether it's Kirk Franklin, whether it's what's one of your favorite artists, Josie. You know,
It's not really an artist. It's more of someone who does covers. Trey McLaughlin. He just kind of does covers. It's just how they sing. It just sounds so beautiful. How it just makes you picture how heaven would sound like. So I just like to listen to like really good artists. Like I just like to, it could be. I just like to listen to good voices. That's just something I
right?
just like. I
So
like to hear.
you can go on YouTube. You can check that out and listen.
That's good. That's good. Write notes, guys. Write notes. So, you have work. This is a scenario. You have work at 9 a.m. and you wake up at 7 a.m. What do you do from the time you wake up to the time you get to work? Take us through the process.
On a normal day?
On a normal day.
Okay. My alarm would be set for maybe 5:30. I wouldn't get out of bed until sadly 7 a.m. in the morning. I have class at 9, so dragging my body off, like just taking the covers off, it's a whole process I have to go through. Right. So get out of the shower. And then do a quick prayer. I know it's like, okay, like I'm like
Microwave prayers.
yes, microwave prayers. That's what I call it. But like I'll be laying in my bed, say, God bless me for the rest of the day. Amen. Jump out of bed, jump in the shower. If I'm looking for a quick breakfast, I go into the kitchen, grab something, make sure, oh, I forgot, I got to put clothes on, okay? So I put clothes on, and then get in the kitchen, made a mad dash. If I was studying until like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. in the morning, I got to pack up. So I'm not missing anything, any paperwork, any assignments that, for the rest of the class, and then pack up, and then usually, I usually catch the Uber, so, I have to call the Uber. I have to make sure I set the time right. So while I'm in the kitchen, while I'm packing up, I have an Uber going on. Like, I'm already calling the Uber, jump in the Uber ride, and get on and going with my life. That's me.
Wow. What could you improve? Now, you told them. Now, of course, the topic is maintaining a relationship with God. What could you have done better?
I could have actually waked up that extra hour and 30 minutes. It could have went a long way. Just wake up and do my lesson, actually pray and have a conversation with God. It's not so much of doing the lesson, just being, very, mediocre with everything. It's your intention. What do you actually want to do?
Right.
So that's the way I see it. Don't just sit there and read the lesson book and just say, okay, we're good.
Right.
I'm good. No. You got to sit there and really have a relationship with God. Right.
Okay. Thank you. Josie, you have work at 9 a.m. and you wake up at 7. What do you do from the time you wake up to the time you get to work?
Can I use real life examples?
It's real. Take us through your process.
For me, when I was up in school in Tampa, I was working 2 jobs. Still active in like 3 organizations on campus, and I was also like a full-time student. So when I say like sleep was very important to me, it was very much so important. My friends knew that after 10:30 they could not contact me, because I was asleep, knocked out. So something that I struggled with was just, it was really hard to find time, because I would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, taking 30 minutes to take a shower, another 30 minutes to get ready, eat breakfast, out my house by 7, and takes me 30 minutes to get to work. I have to be, once I'm at work at 7:30, I begin work at 8. So it just seemed that like, it always seemed that I was just cutting it a little bit too close. And because I was cutting a little bit too close, I never felt that I could have that time in the morning, particularly, to spend with Christ. Something that I used to do, or I would try to do, would be try to end my day off at least. End my day off with him. So if I didn't begin it with him, I know that before I went to sleep, that whatever Bible study I did, or whatever scripture I read, it was a comforting thing where I could write something about it and I can go to sleep. But yeah.
Wow. Okay, so let's focus on because I'm a firm believer that you should always start your day with Christ. Now, with your busy schedule, like, what would you cut into, or how would you change or rearrange that beginning part when you take a shower, get ready? How would you change that to fit God in?
I think I would do something that's kind of unconventional. I wouldn't per se sit and read the lesson book in that sense. I think audiobooks would probably be best in my situation, considering how time is so, it's just a constraint where I have to like, a minute could just like take it away from something else that I had to do. If I have an audio version of the scripture being read, or I'm listening to a lesson book, it's still something that I'm listening to while I'm getting ready, and it's a progression of like putting God into my beginning, like of putting God into my life in the morning, because then now I have God in my mind. So when I begin work, it's not thinking about anything else but who He is.
Right. That's what I call being intentional. Sometimes we can make an excuse and say, "Oh, I'm taking a 30-minute shower and getting ready. There's absolutely no time." But if you're intentional, you're like, "Okay, well, let me put some headphones on, have the Bible playing." That's being intentional. Okay, I have one more question for you all. Now, is maintaining a relationship with God possible? Is it something, since we struggle with it so much, like from what you've told me from your experience, is it possible?
Let's put it this way, plain and simple.
Yeah.
When you have a relationship, boyfriend or girlfriend, you make sure to text him in the morning,
Right.
text him throughout the day, text him at night. Maybe you're FaceTiming, maybe you're caking on the phone, but you go and you sleep. While you're sleeping with your phone right next to you. So the way I see it, if you love God, like you say you do,
Right.
if you want to have a relationship with God, let's use that analogy. You gotta put forth some energy. You have to put some energy into the relationship
Right.
if you want the relationship to work.
Wow.
And that's it.
Now, Josie, is maintaining a relationship with God even possible?
I would say yes, it is possible. It may seem, I feel like it may seem like it's not a possible situation, especially as young people, because we always seem to have something to do. So if we can just prioritize God, and just like how Liz said, like if you love God, you're going to want to be closer to Him, because that's the love that you have for Him. And if you love Him, you want to maintain a relationship with Him regardless of the situation. So you're going to prioritize Him in every sense that you have to do.
Wow, I love it. Look, thank you all, Liz, Josie, for coming on the show. Like, I know the viewers, they're very informed, and I know you've helped somebody. So for that, I thank you. Now, before we move on to our closing remarks, we're going to have a special selection on the piano by Jude Calixte right after the break. Wow, Jude, that was beautiful. Thank you, because we do serve a God. What is that? Great is thy faithfulness. God is always faithful to us. Now, as we close, I want to leave you with 4 tips. 4 tips on how to maintain your relationship with God. When you look at maintenance, maintenance means you have to get regular checkups. First tip, talk to God. You have to regularly talk to God. As the ladies mentioned, don't just talk to God in the morning. There's more to a morning text or a morning hello in a relationship. Some of you men can testify. If you only text your wife or your spouse in the morning, she's going to get mad at you. Talk to God in the morning. Talk to him in the afternoon. Talk to him at night. On all of your spare time, talk to God. Tip number 2, listen to God. See, when you're in a relationship with someone, it can't be one-sided. Okay? Sometimes we do a lot of the talking, but we never listen. That's a one-sided relationship. Now, in order to move forward, you have to talk and you have to listen. Sometimes we ask God and say, God, is he the one for me? Or is she the one for me? And before God could even answer, because it seems right, or because God is taking too long to answer you, you go ahead and make an educated guess and make the decision for God. And then months later, you find out that this person is terrible for you. That's what happens when you talk to God, but not listen to God. Tip number 3. When you talk to God and then you listen to God, you have to tell people about God. Now, some men can testify that when you're in a relationship with another woman, she likes it when you show her off because she's like a flower. And when you show her off to the world, it just brings out another side of her. And she's going to really treat you well. That's just how God is. When you show off God to the world, in all your circles, your friends, you talk to them about God, or at your job, you tell your coworkers about God. God is happy. Jesus is happy. So much so that he's like, you know what? I'm going to take care of this man. Or I'm going to take care of this woman. He loves me so much that he's showing me off. Talk to God. Listen to God and tell other people. I mean, let's be honest. How else is the next person going to know about God? He gave us a commission to spread the gospel everywhere. Of course, he's not expecting us to be like Paul or his disciples to go from continent to continent. Spreading the gospel everywhere starts with your next door neighbor. Spreading the gospel starts with texting someone or someone you meet in the grocery store. Talk to God, listen to God, and tell people about God. Number 4, you gotta be intentional. Sometimes we're waiting for the perfect scenario to bring God in. Some days we're like, oh, I missed my alarm. Well, if you missed your alarm, is that it? Does that mean God gets nothing? Stop making excuses and be more intentional. What do I mean? Like Josie shared, yes, she might be super busy, but you can do little things like have the Bible playing while you're getting ready. And so therefore, you're getting in tune with God even in your busy schedule. Some of you are saying, well, I'm so busy, I forget to talk to God during the day. Well, someone once told me, set up an alarm for maybe 6 o'clock in the morning or 5. and another one in the afternoon, maybe 12 or 1 o'clock, and another in the evening, maybe 8, 9, closer to your bedtime, so that you have no excuse as to why you can't constantly talk to God. You have to be intentional. Now, how bad do you want a relationship with Christ? How bad do you want to maintain that relationship? Eric Thomas says, if you want it as bad as you want to breathe, because you'll do anything to breathe, you'll be successful. If you want to maintain a relationship with God as bad as you want to breathe, you'll be successful. Are you willing to do anything? Is there no length too far for you to go in order for you to maintain a relationship with God? Like, come on. Look what's happening. We're running out of time. And guess what? You're running out of excuses. God desires to be in a relationship with you. So why not use just a fraction of the intentionality you use when you're trying to get that girl, or when you're on a talking phase and every night you're talking, every day if you can just give God some of that. Be intentional. Number 1, talk to God. Number 2, listen to God. Number 3, tell people about Him. Number 4, just be intentional. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and hope." Why don't you be intentional about getting to know the person who has your future in his hands? That's why a lot of you can, you're 25, you're 30, you're 40, and you don't even know your purpose. Why? Because you're not in touch with the person who gives you purpose. Which, this is our next topic for next week. Purpose. We live a life and we're working every day, we're going to school, but we just don't know our purpose. So next Friday, I want you to join me back here on the Early Sabbath Evening Show at 8 o'clock, where we can talk about God's purpose. Now, before we close, I just want to give a special thanks to my team. Haradni, who is the media specialist, the designer. He's also the tech guy, the camera guy. I just want to say a special thank to Jude. Thank you. He played the special music today, and he is also the music producer. I want to say thank you to Ralph, sound engineer, Stephanie, Pastor Jermaine. He's a mentor and a friend. And of course, everyone here, you can't see them, but I can. Thank you all for all that you do, because aside from God helping us, this would not be a possibility without you all. And finally, I want to thank you, the viewers, for watching. Because if you aren't watching, why are we doing this? Thank you for watching, and I hope you are blessed. If you are enjoying this show, please smash the like button. Click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that every time we post, every time we go live, you can see us. I ask that you talk to God, listen to God. What's the third one? Tell people about God and be intentional. Let us pray. Dear God, I just want to thank you, because every time we make up our mind, whether it comes from a sermon or whether it comes from music or whether it comes from motivation, every time we decide to talk to you, you are right there to pick up. You never let us blow up your phone. You always listen to us. You always pick up for us, God. Sometimes you like it when we start talking, and you like it when we're communicating, so much so we even see you acting on our lives. We even see positive things in our lives. We even can feel the peace that you offer, but then we stop. How can we stop doing something that is so good for us. God, we live in a world of sin. But today, Liz, Josie, myself, and the viewers, we want to say, God, I'm tired of being that fake friend. I'm tired of being that person in a relationship where I ghost you every now and then. God, we want today to start being intentional about communicating with you. We want to be intentional about talking to you, reaching out to you, seeing how you're doing, because that's what a relationship is all about. So God, help us in our quest to get to know you, in our quest to maintain a relationship with you. God, I'm tired of being in an on and off relationship with you. It's emotionally draining, because it's like when I don't talk to you, I'm stressed out. When I don't talk to you, bad things happen. When I don't talk to you, it's just an emotional roller coaster. But I see when I do spend some time with you, when we do spend that quality time, we're just happy. Even if we can't pay the bills, we're just happy. Even when trouble happens or problems happen in our house, we're just happy. And that's what happens when we maintain a relationship with you, God. So God, we thank you. We give you glory for the message you helped us to portray to the people. God, as we leave, be with us, protect us. In Jesus' precious holy name, I pray. Amen. Thank you again for joining us. I'll see you again next Friday at 8 o'clock on the Early Sabbath Evening Show. Again, I am Pastor Louima, and I am your host. Good evening.